The ultimate Class A starship. Incredibly powerful, fast, and maneuverable, with a decent amount of cargo storage as well. I really wanted to focus on something incredibly fast, very maneuverable, and could blast anything out of the galaxy without you really having to try very hard. This has a ton of room for personal customization. Now essentially the way this ship works is if we want maximum speed and maximum damage, then we're going to max out our weapon group 1, as well as our engines and shields. If we want to take out ships incredibly fast, then we can maximize out weapon group 0 and be able to basically disable and board ships incredibly easily. Or we can have a balance of each as well as our grav drive, so that way we really don't have to do much of anything and we can still do damage, still disable ships, and you don't have to reassign stuff to different groups and things like that. You can even slow down your ship a little bit to be able to add more damage in various spots. So it's really up to you if you want to min-max or balance things across the board or what you want to do, but it is an amazing ship. As with all of my other ships, flow is incredibly important. From the landing area, you can enter into the ship. This is actually going to be your docking bay where you dock with other ships or star stations. But from this location, you can head all the way through this all-in-one hab. You can head up here into the captain quarters to be able to rest, or you can continue through. And here is going to be a massive living quarters for all of your crew. Plenty of places for them to be able to hang out. On this side here, you've got a workshop, so you can fulfill all of your crafting needs or anything else that you need. But the best part of this is you can walk straight through here and then enter your giant cockpit. This is probably one of my favorite ones. It has massive windows. It looks really cool. And what's even better is you have another ability to be able to go through here without using ladders. You can get to the second level of your ship without ever having to use ladders. This is a big battle bay, which I think looks really amazing with the rest of the ship. Then we can go into this location here for our armory. Obviously, you can change up any of these habs as you want. If you don't want the armory, you don't have to. I just thought it looked really cool with the battle bay, because you can store some of your favorite weapons in here or things that you want to save, but might not be using. Then from here, you can head back into your captain's quarters, which is pretty standard. There's a place to sleep, so that way you can get that 10% XP in past time. And I just really love the way this ship flows so nicely. There's tons of room for upgrades and personal customization. We will be modifying the Star Eagle ship, which if you don't know, you can get this ship completely for free. I'll leave a link in the description on exactly how to do that, and I highly recommend it. The reason we're using this Class A ship for this is because it comes with a bunch of high-level upgrades that we would only be able to get if we invested a lot of points into starship design and other things as well. But since it's come standard on this ship already, we have massive bonuses on here that we wouldn't be able to get otherwise. The only way you're going to get any better is if you invest a lot of points into piloting, get Class B or C ships. But quite frankly, with this Class A ship that you can use from the beginning of the game, and with this build, you might not ever have to upgrade again. Now for this build, we're going to be going to a few different planets, and the reason for this is we can acquire some very unique and amazing pieces by doing this. The first thing we want is a really amazing cockpit. We can get this in our home solar system Sol, and we're going to head over to the planet Titan, and we're going to land on New Homestead. Once here, you're going to talk to the ship services technician right next to the Trade Authority kiosk. You're going to make sure to select the ship that you want to modify. For us, we're going to be using the Star Eagle. You can use any ship in your fleet to upgrade this way. Do keep in mind you don't have to use the ship that I'm using. We've gone over why I'm using the Star Eagle already, but you can use any ship you want. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of some of these engines. I think I put this engine on top because I was trying to unlock some starship design. I'm also going to get rid of the Nova Cowling. I'm going to get rid of the Stroud Captain's Quarters. I'm going to take this shield because we want to make sure we use this shield, and I'm going to move it somewhere else for right now. We want to make sure we keep that. I'm also going to delete this hab that I put on here because I was also unlocking starship design. We're going to delete the cockpit, and I believe the lasers we have on here are pretty good. I'm not sure if we're going to save them or not, but I am going to move them to a different location for now. I'm then going to delete these wing ports, and now we kind of have a little bit better of a base here. Also, make sure to get rid of these thruster arrays. They're just kind of decorations. And if you're having trouble moving things around or attaching things, just remember on this right side, we have R and F to be able to move up and down. I don't know what it is for the controller, but I'm sure if you look on the right-hand side, you'll be able to tell what it is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit G on this to add an item. I don't know what it'll be for the controller, but if you look down at the bottom of your screen, you can see what buttons it is to add a new part. and we're going to look for cockpits. And the reason we came here is for these Cabot bridges. Now there's 3 different tiers of bridges, each of which costing more money, but also adding more mass to our ship. Now since we're upgrading a Class A ship, I want to keep our mass as low as possible, and the only thing that's changing here is the cargo availability. The interior looks exactly the same no matter which tier you buy, and since we're focusing on a Class A ship still, I want to go with the lightest version possible. It's also the cheapest at 8,160. So we're just going to attach that right there, and I'm going to show you exactly why I want this because it looks amazing. Easily one of my favorite cockpits. We can walk into it this way, and then we can go up to the 2nd level. And we have 3 chairs here, but I just love the glass. I love the look of this. It's got decent cargo space, and then once we actually add more things to it, we can go through this door into a giant mess hall that we'll have. And it's going to look really, really, really good. For the next piece to tie this all together, we're still going to stay in the same solar system of Sol, but instead of going to Titan, we're actually going to head to this star yard right here. This is the Deimos star yard, and we're going to get some important pieces from here. Once you dock at the station, you're going to turn left and then head down the stairs to this side right here. Once downstairs, you're going to talk to this fine gentleman right here. Now this is where things start getting a little bit wonky. I really don't like making a maze of a ship, and I wish Bethesda really gave us more control over the connection points that we can go for. But I'm going to do my best to show you exactly how I build this to help with the flow of the ship. Now first things first, we're going to start removing some more parts. We're going to get rid of this suppressor. We're still probably going to end up using it, but I'm just going to move them to the sides because they do come in really handy when you're trying to actually board other ships. And then I'm going to delete this all-in-one berth down here. I'm basically going to get rid of everything that is on this ship that we're not going to use right now. I'm going to get rid of these living quarters, science lab. My ship might look a little bit different because I have upgraded it a little bit from the beginning. I'm going to get rid of this workshop. We're going to definitely need this docker still. And I'm going to get rid of this storeroom, these wings. We don't want to get rid of our reactor. That's one of the most important pieces. These hauler cargo holds are pretty amazing. They give us 1,000 cargo. They do weigh a lot. We're definitely going to keep those for now. We've also got our fuel tanks down here, which we're probably going to keep. I think we need to move these landing gears, so we're going to get rid of these for now. Although these Taio landing gears are really nice, so we might actually move these to the side, because I don't know if we can rebuy the same ones here at Deimos. But we're going to try and do as much here at Deimos as we possibly can. I'm also going to get rid of this storeroom, as well as the engineering bay. And we're going to move this landing bay out for now. I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to keep it at the front of the ship or move it to the back of the ship, but we'll see how things go. Now, the reason we came to Deimos is for a specific piece. So if we hit I kind of want to hover over this middle part right here, and I want to hit the add button. And we want to add these battle stations. I think they look pretty amazing. We do have some other great options here as well. We've got a brig, a cargo hull, computer core, engineering bays, as well as living quarters. But we want to go for the brig right now. Or not the brig. We want to go for the battle stations. And then this is where I wish we had more options. I'd love to have 2 connections here going into a different piece. Now, if we hover over one of these, what we can do is if I hover over here, we should be able to get it attached right there. And we're going to go for one of these 2x1 berths, but you'll see how it kind of does a little bit of a wonky thing, right? I do like the armory. I think it adds something to the battle station. So that's actually what I'm going to put right here. And hopefully it does give us that connection right here, so that way we can walk in, we can go into our armory. I just wish we could walk back out this way as well. So Bethesda, if you're watching this, allow us to customize our connections a little bit more. Unless there's a way and I just don't know how to do it. If I go under the ship, I kind of like the idea of being able to go from living quarters up the stairs into the actual cockpit. So I think below this, what I want to do is I want to add the 2x2 living quarters. So that we have living quarters, then we can go upstairs, we have the battle bay and the armory. Now what I would really like to have happen is I can go from the front of the ship into the battle bay, and then behind the battle bay, I want to be able to put the captain's quarters. I want to try and keep everything up there if possible. And then on the bottom of this, what I want to do is attach to these living quarters down here. I want to be able to add in something like maybe a workshop or something that we need. It's going to be completely up to you what you use for all of these various pieces. You can add an infirmary, science lab, or workshop. I want to add the workshop into here. So now we've got a pretty large ship already. Now, one thing we can do is if you want a lot more cargo space, which I know a lot of you want more cargo space, if you hover over these expensive ones and you have Starship Design Level 2, I don't know if you can still cheat the system if you don't have higher Starship Design. You can hit Control on it and then you can duplicate it. And then we can add more of these pieces. Now do keep in mind, if you add more of these cargo haulers, they're going to drastically reduce your mobility. Now, I think I decided to actually put our landing bay on the back. So we're going to take out this aft right now. We're going to grab the reactor. We're going to grab the grav drive and the extra fuel tanks and stuff back here. And we can delete anything left over. Now, there is definitely a lot of things that we can do in here if we want. You can see just how much space we kind of have left. Now, behind these living quarters, what I decided to do was add an all-in-one berth 3x3. And then what we can do is we can take our landing bay, we can rotate it, and then we can raise it up and attach it to the back of this. So that way we can enter the ship and go directly into it. And anytime you add landing bays or anything like that, one of the important things to see is where the connections are. And connections like this have a door. So you have like round connections, square ones, and you can tell if it's a door if it's like rectangular like this. This can also be a ladder, but this one connects from the back. And there's no way to actually connect from the front. So we're going to attach that right there. So that way we go in, we go to the all-in-one berth. Then we can go through the living quarters into the actual main part of the ship. We can also access our workshop down there. But obviously, the different habs you use are going to be completely up to you. Now, from here, you can start reattaching your stuff. You need to make sure that all of your landing gear will be on the same level. I wanted to make the ship feel a little bit more squat. So I'm just going to be reattaching some of our pieces just like this. What I'm focused on doing right now is just reattaching everything because there's not a lot of decorations here at Deimos or structural pieces that I really like that'll blend well with the ship. So my goal at the moment is just to reattach everything so I can get it to fly to another system. So we're going to take all the pieces that we have detached and we're just going to reattach them and get the ship flyable again. I've also, while here, added a slim docker to the back here so we can dock through this part right here. That'll allow you to delete that old docker that you had that was going from the top. Then from there, just make sure to check you don't have any errors. Like we still have these unattached modules and I'm trying to figure out what to do with these. But for the most part, I've just kind of squeezed everything back onto the ship. To save the rest of the parts, because I want to make sure to keep these landing gears because I do like the way they look. I'm not exactly sure where we're going to use them yet, but if there's anything on a ship while you're building something, you just want to make sure that you can keep it. There's so many different ways to be able to do that. So I've just grabbed one of these pieces right here, which you can get under structural, and I'm just adding it to the thing, and then basically just reattaching our big wing piece here with our landing gear onto it. So that way I can reattach it like this. And I can save these two pieces and kind of just drag them right back into there and attach them like that. And then all of our errors should be fixed. So while we're here, there's a few things that we want to do. We want to upgrade or change around our weapon systems. All the weapon systems that we have on here take a lot of power. The missiles we'll probably never end up using, and the suppressors, we really don't need both of them, but the suppressors do come in really handy if you're trying to take down the engines and board enemy ships. If we decide to keep all of these, if you want, you'll have to allocate power depending on what you're needing to do, so that's going to be completely up to you. But the main thing that I do want to replace are these pulse lasers. They are Starship Design Rank 4, but we've got better options. We are also only allowed a certain number of weapons on the ship, and I much prefer a certain type of weapon, so I am actually going to get rid of these missile launchers. And we could keep these pulse lasers because they are pretty good, but I'm going to replace them with something else. Now, if you had Starship Design Rank 4, what I would be adding is this PB040 auto electron beams. They're pretty expensive, but they have high range, high fire rate, and good hull and shield damage. But if you don't have high Starship Design, there's two options here that are really good. We have one that requires Starship Design Rank 1, which you should have no reason not to have by now. It is expensive. It's 8,670. It's got high fire rate, high range. It's still Class A and does a ton of damage. You can go for the cheaper option if you're trying to save money and go for the Disruptor 3300. We're going to use these proton beams, and I'm actually going to add 4 of these to our ship. These are probably the most expensive addition to the ship, so it's up to you if you want to add them or not, but the damage output from them is insane. Now, you will get an error for this. It's going to show that you have unassigned weapons. To fix this, you just go to Weapons, and then we're going to assign it to Weapon Slot 1, and we're just going to put our proton beams there. Now, you will still have one warning saying that you're missing a weapon assignment. You don't have to have 3 weapon assignments. You're never going to be able to full power all 3 systems anyways, so just keep that in mind. And you won't be able to fully power your proton beams or your suppressors, so depending on what you're trying to do to a particular ship, You can use your suppressors, or you can use your proton beams and just completely blast them out of the sky without having a second thought. But from here, we can exit, save the current look of the ship. We're going to make it look a lot better still. To finish this build, I decided to go to the shipbuilding outpost because here we have the most amount of options for modules to be able to build this the way that we want and actually make it good without having to travel to all sorts of different systems. The reason we had to go to different systems to start off with is because certain modules will only be sold at those systems. We've already picked those up, so now we're going to head to the outpost. Now, if you haven't built one of these at your outpost, it's super easy. All you gotta do is just drop some power and have the resources to be able to build one. I've got plenty of outpost videos on the channel, so feel free to check those out. But our ship looks like hammered butts at the moment. We wanna make this look a lot better, and that's exactly what we're going to do here. Now, because I'm limited in how thick I want this ship, because I don't want it to feel like a maze with a ton of different ladders, I want to be able to go in through the landing bay, be able to go directly through and into the cockpit without going through any ladders and things like that. So it's kind of limiting the design opportunities that I have. But what I've done here is I've added on some Stroud engine mounts on the top. I added 2 more of these helium-3 tanks to the back. One of them I put under here. I moved the cargo bay that we had up to the front, basically where the workshop is, and to the back of the living quarters on each side. So we've got our cargo holds there. I moved the helium tank on top of the cargo hold on both sides. And then I've attached the helium tanks to the back of these engine mounts, and then added a Nova radiator on top just to kind of flesh it out a little bit. And then the only part of that landing gear that we had on the front of the ship earlier is these Taio pinpoint landing gears. I used the front of these, and then I dragged them to the back here, and I attached them to the back landing gear. I think it looks really nice in the back. I've done that on both sides. And I deleted the extra pieces that we had because we actually don't need them all. And I think the ship looks pretty cool so far. I'm working on a couple different engine designs. I really like the looks of this one. So all I've done is I put these 2 engines, I took these, I dragged them out a little bit, and then I added 2 of the Stroud engine mounts, one on the top, one on the bottom, and then I attached the engines to the back of these. And then what we can do from here is we can grab this whole assembly with our laser on top of it, and then we can try and find a good place to be able to put these. I was originally thinking something like this would make it still super squat, but I think we're going to make something in between. So far, I like the look of this. From the back, it's not perfect, but we've grabbed one of the Stroud engine bracers, as well as one of the Nova radiators, and kind of just attach them here, and then attach the wing piece to it. And then I'm getting rid of these Nova wing ports right here. And I've grabbed one of our proton beams that we bought earlier, and I put it on top of this wing as well. So now we'll have 2 of these proton beams on each wing. I realized I messed up one thing with kind of this Stroud engine mount setup here that we had with the fuel tanks. They actually weren't attaching properly. So what we need to do is on the back of this, we need to add these Hope Tech pipes. And you can just drag them onto there. They're going to be under structure, and you can attach your fuel tanks to there. And it's kind of just a matter of making sure that everything attaches properly the way that you think it's going to. Oftentimes, it won't. Now, you can get your mobility back up to 100 by adding another White Dwarf engine to the back, which is exactly what I've done here. This will allow you to add more cargo and things if you so desire. You can actually add more cargo bays right onto here. There's a lot of different things you can do to upgrade this even more. Like you could add some of these Stormax 60s to it if you wanted to under the wings, because they really don't reduce our mobility too much, but the more you add, the more each subsequent one will reduce your mobility. So if we add 1 to each side after just putting on those engines, our mobility is still 85, top speed still 150. It does reduce our jump range as well though. But for the most part, once you get to this point, it's just a matter of balancing your mass and mobility with how much cargo you want. I will be doing a very cargo-specific ship later on, so I'm not too worried about having maximum cargo capacity on this particular ship. So instead of adding anything else, I've just put these Deimos wings on here, just so it's not a flat piece right there. You can also add weapons to each of these, which is pretty nice. Now this is essentially it. There's plenty of room for you to be able to upgrade and add cargo, or level up things as you unlock higher starship designs. You can still min-max a lot of different things on here as far as your cargo and mass goes, but I wanted something that was going to do a ton of damage, be highly maneuverable, with a high jump range.